every football fan knows that there are a couple of NFL franchises that are just downright awful, like historically bad. From the ownership to the players, they have never found a way to figure it all out and become a winning franchise. And you know what? The Detroit Lions used to be the king of those types of franchises. For decades, the Detroit Lions have been the laughingstock of the NFL.
Will they lose fewer than 10 games in 2007? They've been stuck there and above lately.
Fewer than 10?
Fewer than 10.
No, I mean, they're a double-digit loss team. That's who they are.
From their 0-16 failure of a season to their own quarterback unknowingly running out of the back of the end zone, yeah, we see you, Dan Orlovsky. They've laughed at, clowned on, booed, cried over, and just downright forgotten around this time of year when teams are ramping up for the postseason. But that has completely changed in the last couple of years, and honestly, it is so much fun to watch. Today, we are going to take a journey on how the Detroit Lions have officially turned the corner of becoming the laughingstock to absolutely destroying the league. Don't sleep on this wild story about how the Lions have made one of the most stunning reversals in football history and transformed from the butt of every NFL joke into genuine Super Bowl contenders. All right, picture this. It's 2009, and you're in town in Detroit for the very first Detroit Fall Beer Festival the Saturday before the Lions home game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The next day, after the festival is over, you decide to head over to the famous Nemo's Sports Bar, right in the heart of Corktown, and the place is packed, full of Lions fans ready to cheer on their team. Despite just a year earlier, they experienced a feat no team wants to ever achieve: the dreaded 0-16 record, which is exactly what happened in 2008. Despite the crowd at Nemo's and the positive atmosphere at the inaugural Detroit Beer Festival 15 years ago, for a long time people viewed the Detroit Lions as losers. They were the team that hadn't won a playoff game since 1991. The team that made even the most dedicated fans question their life decisions. The team that had a city that embraced the underdog story. From Hall of Fame stars like Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson to bright stars like Matt Stafford and yes, even Dan Campbell in his playing days, the Detroit Lions have always been filled with a lot of hope and promise. Now, we fast forward to 2021. A fresh face takes over. A once passionate and hard-playing tight end, Dan Campbell, steps in as head coach. At first, people laughed at Campbell. His passionate speech about biting kneecaps became an internet meme. But here's the thing. This passion was what the team needed. If you have ever watched some of the Hard Knock shows that featured the Lions, you may have thought some of his speeches were too rah-rah or just a lot of hype talk. But Campbell brought a change in culture and attitude that may not have been picked up by the cameras, but he was slowly building inside the Lions practice facility and inside the locker room. He put together a coaching staff that recognized the team's potential. Most importantly, he ignited a sense of honor in wearing the Honolulu blue jersey. And the crazy thing is, it's working. Would you believe Coach Dan Campbell is almost halfway to Wayne Fontes' all-time Lions win record of 133 wins? Yeah, he's close to halfway there in less than 3 NFL seasons. It took Coach Fontes 8 years to get to 133 wins, and Dan Campbell is on pace to overtaking the legendary coach's record. But a coach can only do so much. The real change began when the front office started to make some smart decisions, and they have one of the best talent and player personnel executives in the league today leading the charge. Lions general manager Brad Holmes has been nothing short of amazing during his 3 seasons as their GM. Holmes has a different approach to talent management compared to most GMs. The majority of NFL GMs, like Cowboys owner, president, and general manager Jerry Jones, have a unilateral approach to selecting their players. It's the traditional way of doing things, and most of the time it works out well. But Brad Holmes has proven his collaborative approach is another way to bring in his team in the decision-making process. It's not for everyone, but it sure is working in Detroit. Take a look at some of the players Holmes and Campbell have on their roster. Penei Sewell is this young and athletic offensive tackle that dominates on the offensive line. He protects franchise quarterback Jared Goff as if he's protecting the president. Now, people don't talk about linemen enough, and this all-pro offensive lineman is one of the major reasons why the Lions offense is so powerful these days. And then there's the continual rise of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Who would have predicted this 4th-round pick would turn into one of the league's most reliable receivers? Seriously, if you thought St. Brown would have been this good coming out of USC a few years ago, then you were way ahead of the curve. I know his brother is on another NFL team, but they both are so fun to watch, and Amon-Ra St. Brown opens up the field for multiple options for quarterback Jared Goff. And speaking of Goff, one of the very first things GM Brad Holmes did when he was hired back in 2021 was make the monumental trade that would set up the Detroit Lions franchise for years to come. In March of 2021, Holmes executed a first in the modern era, where two teams traded former number 1 overall picks. The Lions would send their 2009 overall number 1 pick Matt Stafford to the Rams. And in exchange for Stafford, the Rams would send their 2016 number 1 overall pick Jared Goff to Detroit. It was a great decision by both teams. Stafford got his chance to chase that Super Bowl win he's been dreaming of for over a decade, and Goff would get a fresh, clean start after his disappointing Super Bowl loss. By the way, do you remember when everyone thought Goff was just a throw-in for the Matthew Stafford trade? Well, look at him now, playing like he has a chip on his shoulder. I think it would be pretty awesome to see the Rams back their way into the playoffs and have their playoff game be in Detroit just like last season. What a storyline to have a rematch of last year's wildcard game. And anyways, GM Brad Holmes' hits on player talent don't stop on the offensive side of the ball. Hometown hero Aiden Hutchinson has been giving opposing quarterbacks fits since day one. Now, yes, I know he's hurt and out for the season with a broken leg, but his play before his injury was phenomenal, and there's no doubt that he will continue to bring the pain next season when he's back to 100%. But linebacker Jack Campbell and safeties Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph have been incredible standouts as well this year. But it's not just the team's talent that's continuously improved over the past 3 years. Their stats continue to climb as a result of that hard work and grit that Coach Campbell keeps talking about. In 2021, the Lions ranked 25th in total offense. Fast forward to 2024, and they've broken into the top 5. Their scoring has risen from 19.1 points per game in 2021 to more than 32 in 2024. On defense, they've reduced the points allowed from 27.5 per game in 2021 to less than 18 in 2024. But check out this stat. The Lions won 3 games in 2021. In 2024, they're not just winning, they're dominating, having back-to-back years with 12 wins or more. Want to know the real measure of this team's transformation? Look at the fans. Just talk to anyone who went to the wildcard game or divisional game last season at Ford Field. Trust me, it was the most electrifying 2 weeks of sports entertainment in Detroit history. The noise inside Ford Field deafened you. The place buzzed with energy. For the first time in forever, Detroit felt hopeful for the Lions. You saw grown men cry with joy. You watched kids experience their first playoff win, or should I say wins, and we all saw a city unite in a way that only sports can do. So as we approach the 2024 postseason, and the Detroit Lions have already sewn up a playoff berth with the chance to clinch the number 1 seed soon, the buzz in Detroit is getting bigger and bigger with their chance at the Super Bowl. Let that sink in. The team that once made people laugh now strikes absolute fear in other teams, hoping they don't face them in the playoffs. They don't just win games. They're dominating the league. They play as if they need to prove a point, as if they must show everyone their capabilities, and boy, they are proving it. Now, we know the road ahead for the Lions won't be easy, and I don't want to jinx them like some of the Bills Mafia fans said I jinxed them a few weeks ago. Sorry about that. It's safe to say the NFL is rough, where anything can happen, and staying on top is even more challenging than getting there. But for the first time in forever, Detroit's future looks bright. One thing is for sure, the Detroit Lions aren't your favorite punchline anymore. They're your worst headache. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.